On this week's installment of Top Laners Who Hate Playing Top Lane, today I have a crazy player to show you. This is one Ratty Boy, a master tier Twitch top lane player, who isn't really a top laner. In fact, even at level 1, he's outside top lane making plays instead of laning. So, is he trolling? Just like our Smite Janna top player, Ratty hit master with a 69% win rate, all solo. I don't know how this keeps happening, but roaming tops might be OP. This player is the master, playing on the edge of vision, relying on stealth to pop up almost randomly anywhere on the map behind enemies, and one-shotting them with a full AP build. Let me show you why it's so good, and also why his account got permanently banned, but not for the reason you might think. But first, let me tell you about our sponsor, PorofEssor. It is my favourite League of Legends companion app that helps you in-game as well as out of game, but it also has some great new features. Jungle paths have now been added, showing you the highest win rate paths for any jungler. Great if you're autofilled or trying to learn. Pick a champion and find the path on their profile, or find them in-game by clicking this icon. You can see the most popular paths for red and blue side, meaning it's really easy to guess where the enemy jungler is going to go, even with no jungle knowledge. You can pick your own path for your elo based on win rates to give you the best chance of victory, even showing good ganks to end with. Also, check out the patch notes tab, a quick summary of all the changes since the last patch, specialising in champions you played recently, with a quick summary of each. And let's not forget all the other great features like runes being automatically imported, pro players builds, stats analysis in-game, and a tab to find friends to play with. PorofEssor has it all. PorofEssor is completely free, download it now from the link in the description. So, why is Ratty playing Twitch top lane? And how can he be ganking bot lane so early in the game? Ever since there has been a support item in the game that generates gold, players have found ways to use it in other lanes, but none of them use it quite as well as this Twitch. The main secret to this pick is his Q stealth. This ability can get Ratty from an area that enemies definitely have no vision of, into an area where enemies are, ready to set up a kill. Ratty combines the support item and the stealth together to create a roaming, full damage carry style that moves between lanes, spam ganking, collecting kills and generating gold. But it's not quite that simple. Ratty has a 5-step game plan he does literally every game to make sure this works. Step 1, his plan begins sprinting straight down mid lane with spell thieves. Taking Q, he immediately stealths, running right into the enemies. Making sure a teammate is nearby, his aim is to get 3 auto attacks off and generate a free 60 gold. These roaming strategies are all about chipping away gold piece by piece until your team is too far ahead for enemies to fight you. But his level 1 strategy is not done. He moves on to step 2, standing in this spot between tier 1 and tier 2 tower, just waiting. Why is he standing here? This is a guaranteed area that enemies have no vision of, so as soon as the minion wave passes by, Twitch stealths and runs into mid lane. His goal here is what I would call a pressure gank. Stealthing behind the enemy, Twitch opens up with Hail of Blades for some fast damage. In lower elos this can actually be a first blood, but in Master his goal is a bit different. Ideally he gets a flash, which would let him return and gank them again, but most likely he just gets a big chunk of damage on the enemy mid, which leaves them low HP in lane, letting your mid fully control the lane. In many ways this is just as good as a kill, since they'll have to use all of their potions to get back into the lane, and your mid is set up to destroy them, as well as Twitch gets some more gold from the support item. Once again, Twitch is still not done with level 1. Step 3, he wards this spot in the enemy jungle. This gives vision of raptors and all of these corridors the enemy jungler could walk through, meaning Twitch can track them and avoid danger. Moving up to this spot, Twitch uses stealth again. This makes sure he can get back to top lane safely without being cheesed. Step 4, survive laning phase until level 4. Ratty only cares about not dying, happy to give up CS and make sure the wave pushes towards him no matter what. This gives him safety near his tower, so the enemy top will not be able to solo kill him. Twitch is actually not that bad in top lane early on, especially since he plays with Ignite, so can sometimes poke the enemy down, ignite, and even get a solo kill. But more importantly, since the wave is always pushing into him, it's a free gank for his jungler. Twitch takes his W for a slow, and overextended enemies are screwed. Step 5, the last step of his plan. Get level 4 and immediately leave lane. Twitch bases ideally buying Blasting Wand, or at least some AP and boots, to give him as much early damage as possible. He is done with top lane, now his goal is ganking, running straight into mid or bot lane, stealthing from outer vision and flanking the enemy to set up a kill. He waits till he can get as close as he possibly can before revealing himself, surprising the enemies who just saw him laning top lane. No one expects a top laner who's been laning to risk leaving this early on, especially when they just randomly appear behind you in the lane. There is literally no way to track where Twitch is, because he doesn't run through any areas that can be warded this early in the game. Even control wards wouldn't work to stop this gank, because Twitch isn't walking through any bushes, he just goes past the tower. When ganking bot lane he does the same thing, thing. Stealth in an area you know is unwarded, either behind tower or while still in your jungle. His bot lane engages and the enemies don't know they're about to get ganked. Bot lane is his main goal for early ganks. Mid lane is great, but Ratty has a huge focus on killing bot lane and then forcing Dragon to get his team ahead. He plays for objectives because he is accelerating the game so much. Dragon can die at level 4, 5 minutes into the game, so then at 20 minutes, his team will be getting Dragon Soul and winning the game. He is planning ahead, using his early game power to secure a win condition. For every gank, you want to stealth into lane to get the surprise, and then use the reset to stealth out of lane as well to avoid enemies seeing which direction you're going. You don't want to be walking straight over wards and give your next gank away. Twitch keeps spam ganking, farming enemies for gold instead of farming CS. It is exactly like enemies are laning against an extra person. Every time they get back to lane, they have to play safe and worry about the invisible Twitch appearing at any moment. You can't walk up and ward for him because he could already be there and you would die. The mental advantage is huge. Enemies laning is completely thrown off. Finally at level 6, Twitch gets his ultimate, power spiking immediately, giving him more damage and more range, which ensures he can always be effective in ganks. You may notice, in every fight, Twitch's team has more people. It looks like they should obviously win the fight, so why are enemies even going for it? Enemies think this is a normal league game. They'll always try and get a numbers advantage and make plays. But then suddenly, roaming Twitch arrives, and it's no longer a good fight. You may also notice this Twitch's positioning looks awful. Why is he just running into multiple people to try and get a kill? This is part of Ratty's hyper-aggressive playstyle, wanting to force a big fight knowing his team can out-trade it. If he positions safely, enemies would just walk away and Twitch would get no kills. But enemies have used all of their cooldowns already. Victor isn't really helping at all, but Twitch's team is ready to fight. With this play that is pretty much an int, his team gets 3 kills, now with a hugely fed Evelyn, who literally wins the game in 11 minutes, making Victor go AFK. I would say worth. Enemies constantly have a choice between staying in lane or basing, especially if they want to greed for some extra gold to finish their item. When roaming Twitch is in the game, he punishes this greed every single time. If enemies are not 100% disciplined with every decision, they are dead. There is a line in the game where enemies are safe. If they're behind it, they're fine. If they cross it, they usually get caught. The problem is that Twitch's invisibility moves that line without the enemies knowing. He can be stealthed right next to them and they'll have no idea. And so they'll be in danger even when they think they're playing correctly. Here, Vel'Koz is safe. He's still safe? Not safe. Immediately he's dead. These ganks are great, but by now there is a big problem. Top lane. Ratty's opinion on what to do about it is a lot different to most. In his view, which by the way I agree with, these 2 top towers are basically worthless in terms of the game as a whole. Yes, worst case, if the enemies take all of the plates and the towers, in total they're worth roughly 1,600 gold. But after that, it's incredibly hard for the enemy top to push any further. Breaking Inhib Tower is so much harder than just pushing a wave. Every time an enemy goes for it, they risk getting collapsed on by Twitch and his team. Aatrox is really trying to punish the Twitch for roaming, but he just keeps getting collapsed on, actively losing gold every time he goes for it instead of helping his team. The lane becomes a dead zone where enemies cannot go, and so they start to fall into this trap. Also, even though Twitch is losing this 1,600 gold in top lane, he is generating a bigger advantage bot and mid. Every time he gets a kill, that's a boost in gold for his team, and also takes away gold from the enemy who died as they lose CS. The kill gives Twitch's team free XP, while the enemy starts to lose XP, and XP is much more valuable than most people know. A full level of XP is worth somewhere between 400 and 700 gold, depending on which level you are at the time. So by denying this XP from the enemy, he puts them even further behind. Twitch top abuses the fact that in solo queue it will always be better to be grouped with your team, instead of leaving them alone while you collect resources. In solo queue people cannot resist fighting. Everyone knows that. Everyone has lost a game where their team fights randomly when they're in base or somewhere else. Just by being near your teammates, you create opportunities that otherwise wouldn't exist. One thing I haven't even mentioned is why he's building AP. There are 3 reasons for this. Firstly, the AP build power spikes much earlier, having good early game damage and huge damage once you've maxed your E, fully stacking it with auto attacks and bursting to finish off the kill. The second reason he goes AP is so he can max W early on. This ability has a slow that scales with AP, letting him reach 75% slow later on in the game. This huge slow can set up more picks and let Twitch chase enemies. The third reason he builds AP is for teamfights. Teamfights are probably Twitch's hardest point of the whole game. He is immobile with no dashes, and whenever he presses R, enemies will immediately jump on him because they know how much damage he can do. Crown is Twitch's best teamfight tool for safety, not only helping if enemies dive him, but also dissuading enemies from even going in. So many champions just can't do anything against this item because all of their damage goes off immediately. They are front loaded, so Crown blocks all of it and they have no damage left. This Kiana has 15 kills and 4 items in this game, but this is the amount of damage Twitch takes from her thanks to just one item. Fortunately, our Twitch top rarely even has to teamfight. You can't really call what is happening here a teamfight. Since his team got so far ahead in early game, it becomes more of a collect kills and then end the game fight, not a normal 5v5. If the early game has not gone to plan, then Twitch has a hard task in fights. Not only is it Twitch's most complex part of the game, it's also probably our player's weakest point of the game in my opinion. His positioning throughout the game is hyper aggressive. This aggression gets him way further ahead than a normal Twitch would, but it badly affects him later on where he can't turn off this aggression, often leading to overextensions without waiting for his team. Quickly before we give this build a rating on our tier list, here is the full build. Starting Spell Thief for gold generation while he's roaming, early base for Blasting Wand for early damage, Nash's Tooth as his first item as it's the highest DPS, with Lucidity Boots. These give him more stealth, more slows, and more ults so he can fight more often. Crown, second item for safety, and then Death Cap for more damage, or Zhonya's if you need even more safety. So overall, this is probably one of the most fitting solo queue builds we've ever covered. Not only is it super annoying to be camped by an enemy, Twitch's stealth makes it impossible to avoid the ganks. The main problems with this strategy are split pushing top laners like Tryndamere and Jax, so it's good to ban one of them, as well as how Twitch struggles to do as much damage as other carries in teamfights. In an ideal world he can get a pentakill, but players are conditioned correctly to dive him. Due to these factors, my rating for this build is a 7 out of 10 for high elo, but actually in low elo the rating would be much higher, as enemies will have no clue how to dodge these ganks. In many ways it's better than Smite Janna top. In fact it's even better at carrying games than she is, but it lacks the tools that she has in grouped up fights. I've also heard that Ratty recently received a PERMA ban on this account while playing Twitch top. It's easy to assume this is just a mistake because of him playing an off-meta style. Maybe he just got caught in Riot's system, but no, the strategy is really good. We have statistical proof of that. His ban was for toxicity. I logged into the account so I could see the logs, and he said there was nothing toxic. I wish I could show you the actual logs, but unfortunately what he said wasn't true. It was pretty toxic, and I don't really want to get demonetized, so you'll have to take my word for it. He was very toxic and sexist, so unsurprisingly people don't want to play with that kind of player. Playing off-meta, he likely got reported a lot, but got banned for 3 games worth of toxic chat. Typing in League is a waste of time, and this guy would be Grandmaster by now if chat didn't exist. Thanks so much for watching, let me know what you think of Twitch top, and please do me a favour and check out Porofessor at the link in the description.